Previously, Li Tongya stormed the Shanyue camp and rescued Li Xuanling and Li Jingdian, while the Li clan began rebuilding after Jia Nixi's invasion. Far away in the southern border, Li Qijing prepared for a breakthrough that may turn him into nothing more than an ingredient for Qingxi sect. Now, Li Tongya joins an assault on Huatianshan. Li Xiangping spreads rebellion deep inside Shanyue territory, and a forbidden curse is about to claim a devastating price. Let's continue with Reborn, as an ancient mirror, episode 14. As Ji Dengqi traded blows with the other two cultivators, Li Tongya moved to intercept the Ji clan's other qi-refining cultivator. The man wielded a long staff. He had a youthful face and looked no older than 28 or 29, yet his expression was filled with shock and nervousness. Li Tongya merely raised a hand, and a sweeping arc of sword qi forced him back several steps. This young man has decent talent. Unfortunately, it seems he has spent the last 20 years doing nothing but cultivating. His spellcasting is clumsy and unpracticed. Li Tongya drove him back with another stroke, nearly knocking the staff from his hands. On the other side, Ji Dengqi was struggling against two opponents. He swept his gaze across the battlefield and could no longer hold back. Friend with the sword. My Ji clan serves the young master of Tangjin Gate. Do not let those two deceive you. Withdraw now and my Ji clan will not hold this matter against you. Li Tongya gave a cold laugh. With one slash, he sent the young cultivator's staff flying, then spoke in a deliberately mysterious tone. My surname is Wan. Ji Dengqi immediately fell silent. He blocked Lu Cici's Jade Rui with his saber and borrowed the force of the impact to flee north. Where do you think you're going? Lu Cici and the cultivator surnamed An hurried to cut Ji Dengqi off. Li Tongya caught the flying staff with one hand, then turned toward the Ji clan cultivator escaping south. The young man's true essence was clear and pure. He had evidently refined lesser clear spirit qi. Li Tongya rode the wind after him. River and stream true essence surged around his body, making him slightly faster than his opponent. Pressed hard, the young cultivator turned and hurled several embryonic breath talismans behind him. The sight made Li Tongya's heart ache. Those are supposed to be my spoils. His sword scattered the incoming techniques one after another, though the effort was not entirely effortless. His true essence, refined from riverborn clear qi, was denser and more abundant than that produced from lesser clear spirit qi. It also granted slightly greater speed in flight, though it was a little less nimble when changing direction. That minor weakness did not affect the outcome. After chasing him for dozens of Li Tongya slashed apart the man's protective true essence. With a reverse thrust, he drove his sword straight through the young cultivator's back. The man cried out in pain and fell unsteadily toward the ground. Li Tongya followed at a measured pace. The young cultivator was bleeding so badly that he could no longer form hand seals. Even after a bone cracked from the fall, he still reached toward his storage pouch. Li Tongya reacted instantly, severing the man's arm with a single stroke. Then, watching him writhe in agony, he ended his life with another thrust. Li Tongya took the man's storage pouch, placed the long staff inside, and fastened the pouch to his waist. At the very least, he had gained another storage artifact. There was no time to inspect the rest of the spoils. He rode the wind back toward Huatianshan. From a distance, he could still see the other three cultivators exchanging attacks in midair. Instead of joining them immediately, he flew toward the mountain's defensive formation. The formation protecting Huatianshan was naturally no longer the heaven-locking flower formation of the Wan clan's era. It was a new array built by the Ji clan, but its defenses were only at the peak of the embryonic breath realm. A single sword strike tore open a wide breach, though the opening slowly began to seal itself. Li Tongya attacked more than a dozen times. At the same moment, members of the Lu clan assaulted the array from below. The formation flickered violently, its light brightening and dimming as it struggled to maintain itself. At last, it collapsed with a thunderous crash. Charge! The clash of weapons erupted from below the mountain. Li Tongya concealed his presence and landed inside one of the courtyards. Everything around him was empty and chaotic. His spiritual sense swept across the area. Most of the people on the mountain had already gone down to the foothills, while several storehouses had been cleared out. Li Tongya clicked his tongue, rose into the air, circled once, and located a cave dwelling. The formation sealing its entrance was fairly sturdy. It took more than 10 sword qi attacks before its light began to flicker. Just then, a deafening explosion rang out behind him. Boom! Lu Cici's true essence scattered across the sky. His entire body was blackened, and he spat blood as he fell unsteadily into the forest. The bald cultivator hurriedly retreated, shouting in shock. What kind of talisman was that? Ji Dengqi said nothing. His face was ashen as he swung his saber toward the bald man. The bald cultivator retreated again and cried out, "You, the one surnamed Wan! I can't defeat him alone! Get over here and help!" Li Tongya cursed inwardly. He had no choice but to abandon the cave dwelling and ride the wind back above Huatianshan. The moment he arrived, he sent a streak of sword chi toward Ji Dengqi's back. Remnant of the Wan clan! Ji Dengqi's eyes widened. He spun beside the ruins, shattered the sword chi, and charged with his saber raised. His sharp true essence churned fiercely, while his saber techniques carried tremendous weight and force. Li Tongya blocked several blows with his sword radiance, and was forced back step after step through the air. The bald cultivator formed another spell and clung to Ji Dengqi like a maggot buried in bone. Ji Dengqi had no choice but to turn and defend himself, only for Li Tongya's sword chi to strike from behind. Caught between attacks from both sides, Ji Dengqi managed to hold on for the time it took an incense stick to burn. Below them, the screams of dying Ji clansmen were becoming fewer and fewer. Gritting his teeth, Ji Dengqi drew out a talisman and activated it. Watch out! Li Tongya and the bald cultivator hastily withdrew, yet the talisman only drifted through the air and released several harmless sparks. When they looked again, Ji Dengqi had already flown a considerable distance away. We were tricked! The bald cultivator was still cursing himself when Li Tongya stepped forward and said in a grave voice, "We absolutely cannot let him escape. After him." Ji Dengqi had already fought Lu Sisi and the bald cultivator for a long time. His strength was nearly exhausted, forcing him to use that final talisman as a bluff. If Li Tongya caught him now, his depleted true essence would leave him with no choice but to flee north with everything he had. Ji Dengqi had only been escaping for a few breaths when a jade rui struck toward him. He was forced to stop and raise his saber, bringing his flight to an abrupt halt. Lu Sisi rose unsteadily on the wind. Both of his legs were soaked in blood and appeared to be broken. Blood still stained the corner of the old man's mouth, while his beard and hair bristled with rage. Do not let him escape! The Jade Ruyi's blow delayed Ji Dengqi just long enough for Li Tongya's sword to catch up. Ji Dengqi's eyes turned red with hatred. He already knew that he would most likely not leave alive today. Seeing the determination on Ji Dengqi's face, Li Tongya deliberately slowed by half a beat. The bald cultivator rushed forward to engage him, while Li Tongya held his sword and watched coldly from behind. Ji Dengqi burst into laughter. He tore the storage pouch from his waist and hurled it far away. Then he turned and swung his saber at the bald cultivator. Golden light blazed across the blade, and the strike carried the crushing weight of his full remaining strength. Li Tongya and Lu Sisi exchanged a glance. Both immediately reached for the storage pouch with their true essence. Meanwhile, the bald cultivator blocked several heavy blows in succession. The impacts left his arms and legs numb, and he let out a strange cry as he retreated. Ji Dengqi refused to let him go. Gaining the advantage, he raised his saber and chopped straight toward the man's chest, clearly intending to trade his own life for his enemy's. The bald cultivator twisted aside. At that moment, a streak of cold light emerged from Ji Dengqi's chest. Ji Dengqi coughed blood and turned his head. Behind him, Li Tongya was drawing back a sword drenched in fresh blood. Ji Dengqi's body went limp and fell to the ground, staining a wide patch of earth red. Li Tongya and the bald cultivator descended and struck the corpse with several more techniques. Only after confirming that Ji Dengqi was completely dead did they relax. Lu Sisi then rode the wind toward them with the storage pouch in his grasp. His injured legs had been crudely bandaged, and his face was filled with delight. Who will accompany me to the Ji clan's main stronghold on Huazhong Mountain? You two can go. I'll search Huatianshan. Li Tongya sighed, looking thoroughly dispirited. Most of the spirit stones and valuable materials had probably been stored inside Ji Dengqi's pouch. Lu Sisi had been the farthest from him, yet the prize had still gone to the man who lived beside Wangyue Lake. What rotten luck. Huazhong Mountain would mostly contain the Ji clan's inheritance. Lu Sisi had already sworn a Xuanjing spiritual oath to divide the spoils fairly, so Li Tongya was not particularly concerned. He would rather return and investigate the cave dwelling on Huatianshan. The cultivator surnamed An nodded, then left with Lu Sisi on the wind. Li Tongya turned back toward Huatianshan. The mountain had become a scene of complete devastation. Cries, sobs, and pleas for mercy echoed everywhere. A ring of Lu clansmen had already gathered outside the cave dwelling. They had seen Li Tongya fighting beside Lu Sisi, so when he arrived, they all bowed and addressed him respectfully as senior. Li Tongya nodded. It took him the time of an incense stick to shatter the formation protecting the cave. Then he walked inside at his leisure, leaving the Lu clansmen outside exchanging helpless glances. A clear spring trickled from within the cave and flowed toward the entrance. Li Tongya swept it with his spiritual sense, reached into the water, and retrieved several pieces of jade. He stored them away, then blasted open the stone door ahead. Inside was a stone bench and a tea table. 2 jade bottles, one large and one small, rested on the tabletop. The smaller bottle contained jade sprout pills. Li Tongya pocketed it without hesitation. The larger bottle could not be placed inside a storage pouch. When his spiritual sense entered it, he discovered that it held a strand of heaven and earth spiritual ki dazzling, sharp and fierce. He had no choice but to secure the bottle at his waist. Only a few miscellaneous objects remained in the chamber, along with several letters written by Ji Dengqi's younger sister. The words were sincere and affectionate, and Ji Dengqi had carefully placed them beneath a set of wooden slips. The most recent letter had been sent 5 years ago, so the young master of Tangjian Gate is named Situ Yi. Li Tongya frowned as he read. Surprise slowly appeared on his face, and he murmured the contents aloud. Qingxi sect has made one move after another in recent years. Everyone at home must be extremely careful. Should the Shanyue mountain tribes advance east and invade the border, do not compete with them for victory. The great shaman has waited 100 years for the day when someone could unite the people beneath the northern foothills and become a sacrificial offering. That person must not be killed. The wrath of a purple mansion cultivator is not something we can endure. Cold sweat covered Li Tongya's body. Every hair on his skin stood on end. He silently stored the letters in his pouch and muttered, No wonder Jia Nixi could strike Lijing Mountain in the east and invade Tangjian Gate's territory in the north without any of the surrounding powers holding him accountable. They even ordered us to endure for the time being. The great shaman must have paid an enormous price. Allowing the various Shanyue branches to invade freely was merely a way to conceal the existence of one man, Jia Nixi, ruthless. What an enormous scheme. The only man in centuries capable of sweeping across the great tribes of the northern foothills and unifying the Shanyue, and they intend to offer this heaven-chosen figure as a sacrifice. How vicious! Once Jia Nixi dies, who knows how much chaos will return to the northern mountains. Li Tongya felt as though the sky above him had become unbearably dark. He slowly raised his head and narrowed his eyes at the ceiling of the mountain cave. It was as if he could see through layers of stone and the cloudless night beyond, see countless pieces moving beneath an unseen, enormous hand. When Li Tongya emerged from the cave, Huatianshan had already fallen silent. The Liu clan had sealed off several important locations. The surviving Ji clansmen had all been driven onto the mountain, and the stone paths were speckled with blood. Li Tongya made a circuit of the grounds. Before long, Lu Cixi and the bald cultivator descended on the wind. They carried Ji Dengqi's corpse and appeared to have gained a rich harvest. Lu Cixi smiled brightly. Our luck was not bad. Huazhong Mountain was in complete chaos. The Ji clan had only one young clan lord there, a 20-year-old at the peak of the embryonic breath realm. He tried to destroy the inheritance jade slips, but we smashed his head before he could do it. Of the 6 slips, we saved 3. Li Tongya nodded. Remembering the bottle of heaven and earth spiritual qi inside the cave, he suspected that Ji Dengqi had prepared it for this young clan lord. We can discuss the jade slips later. He pointed toward the courtyards on the mountain and the cave dwelling behind him. The Wan clan once lived extravagantly here. I have already inspected the mountain. Huatianshan contains quite a few spirit fields, producing more than 100 jin of spirit rice each year. That spirit spring is even more valuable. 30% of everything here should be worth more than 200 spirit stones. Brother Lu, can you afford to pay that amount? Lu Cixi laughed and withdrew 12 small flags from his storage pouch. Each had a white surface covered in black patterns. Brother Li, do you recognize these? Li Tongya immediately moved several steps away and rose cautiously into the air. Formation flags? Exactly. Seeing Li Tongya's guarded expression, Lu Cixi realized that suddenly producing a set of formation flags had looked suspicious. Afraid of being misunderstood, he hurriedly explained. These should be one of the Wan clan's greatest treasures, the purple banner, white feather flags. They were artifacts frequently used by Wan Huathian in the past. Later, they remained on Huatianshan and became the foundation of the heaven-locking flower formation. The Ji clan seized several years ago. They are unquestionably worth close to 200 spirit stones. Lu Cixi had visited Lijing Mountain before. He knew how pitifully simple the Li clan's defensive formation was. After Jia Nixi's sudden assault, everyone in the clan had been left deeply unsettled and desperately needed a reliable mountain-protecting array. His proposal struck directly at Li Tongya's greatest concern. The purple banner, white feather flags are still only qi-refining artifacts. No matter how extraordinary they are, they should be worth roughly 100 spirit stones. Senior is exaggerating their value. Li Tongya laughed and shook his head. The offer was extremely tempting, but spending 200 spirit stones on a single set of formation flags would be madness. Then I will add another 50 spirit stones. Lu Cixi took 50 spirit stones from his pouch and handed them over together with the flags. My offer is already generous. You also obtained several things from the cave dwelling. Your gains from this journey are hardly small. Li Tongya considered for a moment, then reached out and accepted everything. It was also a way of giving Lu Cixi some face. The Lu and Li clans will be neighbors from now on. There is no need to calculate every minor difference between us. Precisely. Lu Cixi's smile widened as he passed the 3 jade slips to Li Tongya. We have already copied their contents. These are the original jade slips. You may take them. Li Tongya understood the meaning behind his words. Lu Sisi was assuring him that the Lu clan had not altered the copied techniques to harm him. He accepted the jade slips and carefully inspected each one with his spiritual sense before nodding. Senior Lu is truly generous and honorable. Tanya admires you. I will take my leave. He gave a slight nod to the bald cultivator, then rode the wind away without looking back. Watching Li Tongya disappear into the distance, the bald man also cupped his hands. Brother Lu, the matter here is settled. Qizhong Mountain will belong to my clan. The Yu clan in the north is powerful, so I hope you will offer us some support in the future. Travel safely, brother An. Lu Sisi nodded. Only after the bald cultivator flew away did he return to the cave dwelling. He gazed at the clear spirit spring flowing before him and let out a soft sigh. His face was filled with joy. At last, this spirit spring is mine. With it, our clan will possess cave spring clear spirit chi. Our descendants will no longer have to refine those ordinary first-grade mixed chi. Lijing Mountain. Tongya had only just landed when he saw Li Xuanwen pacing anxiously nearby. The moment Li Xuanwen saw him, he released a long breath and bowed respectfully. Second uncle. Li Tongya smiled and nodded. He took out the long staff and tossed it to Li Xuanyuan. Try it, see whether it suits you. Li Xuanyuan did not yet possess a proper artifact, and his eyes immediately lit up. After examining it, he discovered that it was only an embryonic breath artifact. Even so, it was still useful to the Li clan. Li Tongya himself was still using a sword of the same grade. He next inspected the storage pouch taken from the Ji clan cultivator. It held only 2 square chi of space. Inside were a few miscellaneous objects and 2 spirit stones, while the pills and talismans were also merely at the embryonic breath level. Leave this for Xuanfeng. Li Xuanfeng had already reached the 5th level of the embryonic breath realm, and formed the jade capital wheel, allowing him to use a storage pouch. Li Tongya reclaimed his own pouch and set the smaller one aside for him. These truly are among the finest formation flags available at the chi refining level. Li Tongya activated the 12 purple banner white feather flags. He admired them for a long while before reluctantly storing them away. Then he took out the 3 jade slips. He picked up the first and extended his spiritual sense into it. The Golden Radiance True Edge Art. This was clearly the Ji clan's inherited cultivation method, most likely brought back by the Ji woman connected to Tangjin Gate. It was an orthodox 3rd-grade art equal in rank to the Li clan's river and stream unity art. It required the cultivator to absorb metal and stone sharp chi, emitted from mines containing precious metals and jade. There is only one large golden jade mine in the entire state of Yue, and it lies within Tangjin Gate's mountain territory. Their metal and stone sharp chi must all come from Tangjin Gate. Li Tongya took out the jade bottle found in the cave and swept it with his spiritual sense, brilliant and flickering, sharp as a blade. This is indeed metal and stone sharp chi. After storing the art and the bottle together, he examined the remaining 2 jade slips. One contained the clear spirit essence transforming art, a mere 1st-grade method that used lesser clear spirit chi. Li Tongya shook his head and put it away. The final slip was titled Notes on Talisman Refinement in Golden Autumn. It had been written by a cultivator at the peak of the chi refining realm, and recorded many fundamental principles and subtle insights into talisman techniques. The author's name was Si Boxiu. Li Tongya had no idea how the Ji clan had acquired the work. Si Boxiu. I wonder what relationship he had with Si Yuanbai. Li Tongya skimmed through the notes and found a passage at the end. The mysteries of talismans originate from the Moonlight Origin Palace. Many transformative talismans contain formations within them, while the art of turning astral force into chi is even more profound. Should one master this technique, the Moonlight Origin Palace, Decree Chi, Li Tongya sighed. He had long suspected that the Dharma Mirror was connected to the Moonlight Origin Palace. This passage made the connection even clearer, yet he felt little joy. To become entangled in such karma, who can say whether it is fortune or disaster? You worthless bastard! Mu Xiaom smashed the severed head before him with a single furious palm. Then he seized the Shanyue subordinate who had delivered it and roared through clenched teeth. Useless fool! How could this possibly be Li Xiangping? He is an Easterner, yet you brought me the head of a Shanyue man. He struck the subordinate hard enough to make him vomit blood. Mu Xiaoman's eyes were crimson with rage. After failing to catch Li Tongya that day, he had returned only to discover that the young woman had also escaped. By then, how could he not realize that she had most likely been a member of the Li clan? Regret tormented him. If I had known, I would have used a shamanic spell to put her to sleep. I let myself become distracted and allowed her to escape. Mu Xiaom slowly sat back down. He no longer had the energy to dwell on her. A far more troublesome problem stood before him. Li Xiangping seemed to be everywhere. The Easterner had already made more than a dozen loops through the Shanyue heartland. When the first report arrived, he had armed over 1,000 people. and broken through several settlements. By the time the next report came, he had already appeared in the south, killed a tribal elder, and led the starving people in dividing the grain. The Qi refining cultivators stationed throughout the region were run ragged. They hurried from one place to another, yet Li Xiangping always withdrew before they arrived. The moment they left, he attacked again. Mu Xiaoman went several nights without sleep. At last, someone delivered what was claimed to be Li Xiangping's head. Mu Xiaoman released a breath of relief and ordered the news of Li Xiangping's death to be spread. Then Li Xiangping appeared in the west, gathering refugees and continuing south. Mu Xiaoman immediately mobilized troops to strike him. Yet not a single Easterner could be found within the enemy ranks. Instead, new reports arrived every day, claiming that Li Xiangping had appeared in every direction. Mu Xiaoman even began to question the man's actual cultivation. Over the following days, matters grew even worse. Every day, another supposed head of Li Xiangping was brought into his tent, yet each one belonged to a Shanyue man. The western defensive line was attacked 12 times in succession and nearly collapsed far enough to force Mu Xiaoman eastward. Across the northern foothills, the Shanyue people began whispering that Li Xiangping was everywhere. The previous night, news arrived that Li Xiangping had reached Dajue court and rallied nearly 10,000 refugees. Mu Xiaoman was forced to return and defend the city. Yet the moment his main army moved, Li Xiangping would be free to withdraw east at his leisure. Only the king can truly kill this locust that appears everywhere. A tribal shaman trembled as he spoke. Grand Commander, that man is not merely an embryonic breath cultivator. He is a starving wolf with eyes and ears everywhere. He is a demon. The refugees follow him as though bewitched. A profound sense of helplessness rose within Mu Xiaoman. Jia Nixi remained on the Tangjin gate front and had sent no reply. That silence only deepened Mu Xiaoman's fear. I do not care what he is, Mu Xiaoman said coldly. Either he dies, or I do. That night, he sought out the green shamans of Great Shaman Mountain. He offered women, spiritual materials, and many other treasures. At last, one green shaman was moved by the gifts and agreed to intervene. News that Mu Xiaoman was being toyed with reached the front line. Jia Nixi finally sent back a reply consisting of only a few words. Fine. Either he dies or you do. Mu Xiaoman's hands and feet trembled. He summoned every tribal shaman in Dajue court. Wagons were loaded with women, spiritual materials, and the captive Li clan child demanded by the green shaman. Then the convoy set out toward Shaman Mountain at the greatest possible speed. Even along the way, another subordinate approached with a Shanyue head and proudly claimed it belonged to Li Xiangping. Mu Xiaoman nearly beat the man to death on the spot. Damn it, what kind of monster is he? Mu Xiaoman sat inside the wagon in a daze until someone shouted from outside.
Grand Commander, we have reached Shaman Mountain!
Mu Xiaoman climbed down. Before him rose a staircase carved from white jade. Trembling, he removed his shoes and began climbing barefoot. The path was pitch black. Mountain winds howled, and strange night creatures shrieked from the darkness. Mu Xiaoman did not dare raise his head. He silently counted each step. After climbing 1,622 steps, he reached an enormous platform, also made of jade and polished bright enough to reflect a face. Mu Xiaoman dropped to his knees. In the reflection beneath him, he saw 10 figures seated high upon jade platforms. Each wore elaborate robes and looked more like an immortal cultivator than a Shanyue shaman. This is one of our generals. Someone above said coldly. Tell them what happened. Mu Xiaoman immediately repeated the explanation he had spent the entire night preparing. Whispers hissed from both sides. What is this? Now we are expected to deal with mortal affairs as well. What do you know? If this disrupts Master's great plan, you can wait to be devoured. These people are truly useless. They cannot even deal with a single embryonic breath cultivator. Mu Xiaoman kept his forehead pressed against the jade and did not dare speak. At last, the person in the highest seat said, If none of my fellow disciples wishes to act personally, then let us settle this with a curse and spare ourselves the journey. A voice immediately questioned him from below. Master once forbade us from using spells to interfere with events on the surface. Senior brother, this action should be approached with caution. It will be fine. The figure seated in the center shook his head. That man is not one of the Shanyue. Among the many curse arts, the invocation curse is the safest. It will not disturb anything important. He could not possibly have encountered such a spell before, nor will anyone understand what killed him. The questioner nodded and gave an order. Bring up the sacrifices. Several demonic beasts were led forward. They were covered in black fur and as fat as pigs, with dull and vacant expressions. Yet the pressure radiating from their bodies showed that every one of them stood at the peak of the Qi refining realm. Through their reflections in the polished floor, Mu Xiaoman saw slave markings drawn across their arms and bodies. He wondered silently, why mark demonic beasts as slaves? Before he could think further, the ground before him trembled. the center of the jade platform shifted apart, revealing an enormous circular pit. Boiling blood filled its depths, with human bones rising and sinking within the crimson liquid. A crippling curse, a mind-dulling curse, or a death curse? Someone on the left asked. The figure above answered softly, "To be safe, use the death curse." The other person nodded and formed several hand seals. In a hoarse voice, he began to chant, "We appeal to the true register of Xianping. A rebel commander and wicked fiend has seized a false mandate and disturbed our people. We respectfully invoke the great law of the true register. Ruin his eyes, dissolve his bones, and melt the flesh and blood from his body." Mu Xiaoman and the other Shanyue listeners froze. Their emotions became inexplicably complicated. Among the Shanyue mountain tribes, there had always been a tradition that wars between armies and struggles between tribes should not be settled through curses. Mu Xiaoman despised himself for resorting to such a dishonorable method. Yet deep inside, he tried to justify it. He is merely one of the ordinary Eastern folk. The head of a young secondary line descendant of the Li clan was severed. His blood poured into the pit. The demonic beasts thrashed in the blood pool like pigs being slaughtered, throwing up great blossoms of red liquid. As the stench of blood filled his nose, Mu Xiaoman suddenly remembered the day he and Jia Nixi had killed their king and raised a rebellion. The king they slew had been fat like one of these pigs, his granaries packed with food while common people starved. As the Shanyue villagers cheered, Jia Nixi laughed loudly. Mu Xiaoman had been terrified and asked him why they had chosen to rebel. Jia Nixi sat astride a great horse, pointed his whip at the celebrating people, and laughed. For the people. Now the northern foothills had finally been pacified, yet Jia Nixi still fought endless wars beyond the mountains. Nearly 10,000 refugees had gathered outside Dejue court. No matter how Mu Xiaoman thought about it, he could not understand how Li Xiangping had built such an enormous army in the heart of enemy territory. "My king? Does any of this still mean anything?" His eyes lowered. He trembled, not daring to let his tears fall. For the first time, he had glimpsed the truth earlier than Jia Nixi had. Li Xiangping sat silently beside a fire. The red flames illuminated his face. His leather clothing was torn, his expression exhausted, and the hair on his legs had curled from the heat. Yet his eyes remained fixed on the taro roasting beneath the coals. Over the past days, he had fled east and west, narrowly escaping death at the hands of Qi, refining cultivators several times. He had witnessed more partings between the living and the dead than he could count, killed many Shanyue commanders, and incited desperate refugees to attack Dajue court. The refined ease he once carried within the Li estate had vanished. He had returned to the rough, mud-stained bearing of a man from the countryside. Blood and fire had forged an iron quality into him. More and more he was beginning to resemble Jia Nixi. "My king." A Huila had never abandoned that form of address. Worse, he had influenced the Shanyue soldiers, Li Chuyang, and Chen Donghe until all of them were also shouting "My king" at every opportunity. Mu Xiaoman has gone to Shaman Mountain. No one knows what he intends to do. A section of leather armor had been torn from Chen Donghe's arm, revealing a dark red wound. Mud and dried black blood covered his body. He held a map and traced the roads and marked routes with one finger. "My king, you must be extremely careful." "He is right." Li Xiangping laughed, but silently tightened his hand around the luminous pearl at his waist. "He has most likely gone to invite a Foundation's establishment cultivator. We cannot delay any longer. I must send this object back to the clan as quickly as possible." During his westward campaign, Li Xiangping had taken the transparent treasure pearl from the altar of a great tribe. The mystic pearl talisman seed in his Qi Si had suddenly stirred when he approached it. He immediately understood that the pearl was most likely connected to the Dharma mirror, and had kept it on his person ever since. Seeing Chen Donghe's solemn expression, Li Xiangping suddenly felt the urge to tease him. He looked up and grinned. "Dong, have you taken a liking to my Jingdian? Shall I give you an official place at her side?" Chen Donghe's handsome face instantly turned crimson. He lowered his head and stared at his toes without saying a word. Li Chuyang doubled over with laughter. Chen Donghe kicked him angrily but still did not dare look at Li Xiangping. Li Xiangping laughed as well and shook his head. "If Jingdian agrees, I naturally have no objection, but my daughter must be your principal wife." Chen Donghe's face burned hotter. He did not know where to place his hands or feet. I would never fail Jingdian." Everyone burst into laughter. Chen Donghe looked as though he wanted the earth to swallow him. Ahuila laughed until he coughed, then shouted boisterously. "Among the Shanyue, when we fancy a woman, we seize her and make her our wife. We do not bother with all these Eastern customs." "Try it," Li Xiangping said with a raised brow. Li Xiangping smiled with one brow raised. Ahuila immediately begged for mercy, while Chen Dong finally relaxed enough to laugh. The rich scent of roasted taro spread through the camp. Li Xiangping ate slowly and carefully. The taste brought him back to when he was 12 or 13, secretly roasting taro in a fire pit with his eldest brother Li Chonghu. Back then, he had still been young, and Li Chonghu had always found a way to save the best food for him. Beside him, Li Chuyang repeatedly scanned the surroundings, watching for the Shanyue eagle-eyed scouts circling in the sky. Whenever he looked at Li Xiangping, his eyes were filled with deep reverence. Li Xiangping had led them out of too many hopeless situations and delivered victories that should have been impossible. Just as the Shanyue worshipped Jia Nixi as a son of destiny, the clan soldiers following Li Xiangping had come to believe that their clan lord was an invincible god of war. Everyone's attention rested on him. Then Li Xiangping suddenly lowered the taro in his hand and froze. Countless times before, danger and risk had appeared within his mind. Now the decree chi known as escape death, prolong life suddenly blazed inside him. An overwhelming sense of danger erupted. Through a haze, Li Xiangping saw himself collapsed on the ground, vomiting blood while cries for help and anguished wails filled the air around him. I am going to die. There is no escaping it. A sinister chill seemed to descend from above and pierce the crown of his head. Li Xiangping murmured the words, snatched the map from Chen Donghe's hands, and pulled a still-burning piece of charcoal from the fire pit. He closed his eyes for a single breath, then drew quickly across the map. My king, Chen Dong panicked. He dropped to his knees and stared up at Li Xiangping in alarm. After finishing the route, Li Xiangping thrust the luminous pearl into his arms. His voice was low and urgent. Once I die, Mu Xiaoman will certainly come for you. Follow this route east and return home. Before Chen Donghe could answer, Li Xiangping clenched his teeth and continued. No matter what happens, you must place this pearl in Li Tongya's hands. Everyone. Li Xiangping rose to his feet, ignoring Chen Donghe's stunned expression. His voice rang across the camp. After my death, all of you will follow Donghe east. No one is to remain here. Li Chuyang and the others stared at him in confusion. Li Xiangping's voice grew weaker. His body went limp and he sank to the ground. My king, clan lord! Li Xiangping raised his eyes toward the blazing sun. Countless illusions spread across his vision. The sun itself seemed to split open, as though a falling star had descended before him. Fire hissed along that wound in the sky before plunging into his heart. The heat was so intense that his eyes and nose seemed to burn away. Once, he had roasted a Shanyue tribal chief fat as a pig alive in flames. The same torment spread through his own body. My king, the world before Li Xiangping turned dark. He could no longer see anything. He only felt someone throw themselves against him, and hot tears splashing onto his face. The corner of his mouth lifted. With the final remnants of his strength, he gave a low laugh. What a despicable method. His long hair came loose, revealing sparse strands of white. He had lived long enough that an ordinary farmer of his age would already be watching grandchildren run about with sweets in their mouths. He had suffered few great humiliations in his life. Even now, his only concern was whether the Li clan could continue surviving between the countless greater powers surrounding it. Dense black chi emerged from the void. It dissolved his dark gray eyes and withered his body. Black blood spilled from Li Xiangping's throat. In a hoarse voice, he declared, "This old man has lived a blessed life." Countless memories flashed through his mind. At last, they settled upon a winding river. A young man had just caught a black carp. He lifted a battered bronze-green mirror from the water with a puzzled expression. The rising sun shone across his face, illuminating a brilliant smile. The black chi had arrived swiftly and vanished just as quickly. After withering Li Xiangping's body, it began retreating into the void. Then gray radiance emerged from the rising Yang palace within him. The black chi paused. Like starving ghosts discovering a feast, every strand surged into his rising Yang palace and threw itself upon the decree chi within. In an instant, all of it disappeared. Only Li Xiangping's dried corpse remained, kneeling upright upon the ground. White light flowed out from his chi-si and quietly vanished into the void. His followers broke into anguished cries. Ahuila's eyes nearly split. Curse. Mu Xiaom, you dishonorable coward. Clan lord. Chen Donghe knelt before Li Xiangping, tears streaming down his face. He lowered his head and wept, clenching his fists until blood ran between his fingers. Sobs surrounded him. Li Chuyang approached unsteadily, his eyes red. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A sudden droning sound filled the air. Chen Dong froze and forced back his crying. Everyone kneeling nearby moved closer and pressed their ears toward Li Xiangping's body. Silence! Chen Dong shouted with a frown. The camp immediately quieted. He lowered his head and listened carefully. His trembling hand reached toward the corner of Li Xiangping's mouth, which was slowly turning bluish-white. He gently forced the lips apart. The buzzing grew louder. Ahuila and Li Chuyang both stiffened and knelt beside him to look. Sss. The moment Chen Donghe applied pressure, a gray-black locust leaped from Li Xiangping's mouth. Backward-pointing thorns covered its body, while its wings were as thin as leaves. It hopped across Chen Donghe's palm, then beat its wings and flew away. This! Locusts! There are so many locusts! Before anyone could react, hundreds then thousands of gray-black locusts erupted from beneath Li Xiangping's body. Their wings filled the air with a deafening hum. They rose like a black gale, flying in every direction and striking the people nearby hard enough to leave their bodies aching. Everyone hurriedly backed away. Donghe? This, Ahuila stared in shock. Chen Donghe retreated several steps, tears still covering his face. He picked up Li Xiangping's azure crow bow and looked toward the place where the corpse had been. It was gone. The swarm of locusts climbed slowly into the sky. Chen Dong clenched his teeth. Move! Do not let them catch us! Li Jing Mountain. Sigh. White talisman seed emerged from the void, flickering with pale light. It entered the bronze-green mirror, resting upon a stone platform, and stirred a wave of silvery moonlight. A deep, sorrowful sigh echoed through the courtyard. Li Xiangping, it has already been 25 or 26 years since you found me. The image of that boy catching fish remained vivid in Lu Jiangxian's mind. Now Li Xiangping had fallen in the west. Lu Jiangxian's emotions were complicated. Words rose within him, yet he did not know what to say. He felt his spiritual sense and magical power increasing without pause. The information recorded within the mystic pearl talisman seed slowly flowed into the Dharma mirror. Li Xiangping had died to a curse at the peak of the embryonic breath realm, yet the power returning through the talisman seed far exceeded Lu Jiangxian's expectations. The feedback from the mystic pearl talisman seed does not seem to depend solely on cultivation. It is also connected to intangible things such as destiny, fortune, and the incense faith of worshippers. Li Xiangping seized part of Jia Nixi's fortune and took a share of the Shanyue people's faith. Brilliant light flowed across the mirror's surface. Profound lunar light wandered around its frame. Its power was now sufficient to kill a cultivator at the peak of the Qi refining realm. The limit of Lu Jiangxian's magical power had also increased. He could release 5 beams of profound lunar light in succession. Even against a Foundation establishment cultivator, he could resist for a time. Afterward, however, he would require 3 days to recover. The black qi from that curse was a technique transformed from decree qi. The decree qi inside Li Xiangping swallowed part of it. I wonder what kind of mutation that will produce. Over the following days, Lu Jiangxian remained in the courtyard and studied the structure of the curse. His progress was limited. Fortunately, he did not need to eat or sleep and had almost no physical desires. He could spend 10 or even 20 years studying it if necessary. There was no need to rush. The more important matter is that treasure pearl. A sense of hunger rose within Lu Jiangxian. After becoming an artifact spirit, most of his desires had faded. He usually forced himself to watch the smoke, fire, and ordinary lives beneath the mountain, merely to preserve some emotional movement within his mind. Yet the pearl Li Xiangping had found awakened a craving from the deepest part of his existence. Outside the rear courtyard, Li Tongya was explaining swordsmanship to Li Xuanling. His heart suddenly trembled, and he stopped halfway through a movement. "Father, what is wrong?" Li Tongya frowned. A vague unease filled his mind. He waved a hand. Nothing. Then he thought, the great formation on Lijing Mountain must be established as soon as possible. Without an array protecting the mountain, I can never feel at ease. Clack! Something struck the window. Li Tongya and Li Xuanling both turned. Li Xuanling approached cautiously and opened it. A thin gray-black locust had smashed against the frame and died. Its upper body had been crushed, leaving it stuck to the window. He picked it up in confusion and looked toward his father. Li Tongya's spiritual sense had already seen it clearly. For some inexplicable reason, sorrow rose within him. He took the locust and examined it more carefully. His spiritual sense swept across its body. There was not the slightest trace of demonic qi. Instead, it carried an almost imperceptible sense of familiarity. I should enter the mountains again tomorrow and search for news of Xiangping. Li Tongya shook his head and pushed the thought aside. With a wave of his hand, he tossed the dead locust out the window. Do not lose focus. Continue reading the Blackwater sword art carefully. A burst of excited noise came from outside. Li Xuanyuan entered with a swaddled infant in his arms, unable to conceal his happiness. Second uncle. Li Tongya raised his brows. Joy also appeared on his face. The child has been born? A boy or a girl? The previous year, Li Xuanyuan had married a woman from outside the clan who possessed a spiritual aperture. Her talent was poor, and she had only reached the first level of the embryonic breath realm, forming the Xuanjing wheel. Li Xiangping had also arranged several attractive mortal women as concubines for Li Xuanyuan. The newborn before them was the first child of his principal wife, and therefore the first direct line descendant of the next generation. A boy! Li Xuanyuan's smile could not be hidden. He held the infant tightly. Li Tongya laughed. This is the first child of the Li clan's third generation. Have you chosen a name? His generational character is Yuan. Li Xuanyuan laughed and murmured softly to the baby before answering. Let us call him Li Yuanshu. Li Yuanshu! Li Tongya nodded and smiled as he looked at the infant. Good. Very good. Then he asked, how many children have your concubines born? Li Xuanyuan looked up, surprised by the sudden question. 1 son and 1 daughter. They are only 3 and 5 years old. Li Tongya considered for a moment before speaking in a grave voice. From now on, within the Li clan's principal lineage, sons born to concubines who lack spiritual apertures will establish lesser houses. Those born with spiritual apertures will be returned to the principal house. If a lesser house produces no spiritual aperture within 3 generations, it will be reduced to a branch line. Should someone in that line later awaken a spiritual aperture, they may return to the principal house and be recorded beneath their ancestral line. Li Xuanyuan paused, then nodded. The Yi branch now numbers more than 2,000 people. If someone among them awakens a spiritual aperture and is raised into a recognized branch, how should the following generations be handled? At most, they may rise into a lesser house. Li Tongya answered after several breaths of thought. Li Chuyang was currently part of a branch line of the Li clan. If his eldest son awakened a spiritual aperture, that son could be elevated into a lesser house. However, even if Li Chuyang's direct grandson later awakened one, he could not be raised into the principal house. This way, everyone in the principal house will remain descended directly from grandfather's bloodline. Li Xuanyuan nodded. Seeing the unease on Li Tongya's face, he asked, Second uncle, is something wrong? Li Tongya opened his mouth then paused. Wariness appeared in his expression. I am still worried about Xiangping. I will travel west under cover of night. The 2 of you must guard the clan. Mu Xiaoman sat inside a carriage. The roads through Shanyue territory were unbearably rough. The wagon jolted and swayed, worsening his already foul mood. Again and again, the scene on the white jade platform surfaced within his mind. He lifted the curtain and looked toward the blazing sun. As far as he could see, the earth was dry and split. How long has it been since the last rain? Reporting to the Grand Commander, not a single drop has fallen for 4 months. Mu Xiaoman considered for a moment, then waved toward the subordinate below. Withdraw the eastern defensive line. Drive the refugees east and leave them to survive or die on their own. The subordinate hesitated. If the eastern line withdraws and Li Xiangping escapes, that man is dead, Mu Xiaoman roared. Fury surged through him. He leaped from the carriage, seized the subordinate by the neck, and shouted into his face. How many times must I say it? That dog is dead, dead, dead! His eyes turned red. He raised a fist, ready to strike. Then every subordinate around him suddenly dropped to their knees like grain flattened by a violent wind. Greetings, my king? Mu Xiaoman's entire body trembled. He slowly raised his head. Jia Nixi stood in the air, riding upon Qi and staring down at him coldly. Mu Xiaoman immediately released the man in his grasp and fell to his knees. His forehead pressed against the ground and his lips turned pale.
My king!
Jia Nixi walked toward him 1 step at a time. He stopped and stared in silence. Then he kicked Mu Xiaoman with sudden fury. Useless! Mu Xiaoman flew away like a ball. He smashed through several wagons, spilling grain across the road. The surrounding soldiers swallowed nervously. After rolling several times, Mu Xiaoman scrambled back and knelt before Jia Nixi, slapping himself repeatedly across the face. Jia Nixi watched him for a long moment, then laughed in anger. One embryonic breath cultivator. You mobilized so many soldiers, yet could not even touch his shadow. In the end, you had to beg the green shamans to kill him with a curse. You truly are useless, Mu Xiaoman. Mu Xiaoman continued striking his own face numbly. Jia Nixi spoke in a low voice above him. There will be a grand sacrifice in several days. You will not attend. Remain in camp and reflect upon your failure. Mu Xiaoman looked up. Thunder seemed to explode within his mind. In that instant, he felt as though he had grasped something. He opened his mouth to speak. Jia Nixi moved first. One punch struck Mu Xiaoman in the stomach, forcing the words back down his throat and knocking him unconscious. Take him away. Jia Nixi watched as Mu Xiaoman was dragged back toward the camp. Then he turned toward Shasam Mountain, whose summit disappeared into the clouds. In a voice too quiet for anyone else to hear, he murmured, Stay alive. Li Tongya searched through the mountains until the sun began descending in the west. At last, he rose from an abandoned and devastated Shanyue camp, muttering to himself, All the cooking fires in the east have gone out. The Shanyue army has withdrawn. Why would Mu Xiaoman allow Xiangping to return east so easily? Li Tongya rode the wind farther west. Dead land stretched beneath him. By his calculations, almost half a year had passed without rain. No wonder there are so many Shanyue refugees. He frowned as he considered conditions within their territory and estimated how many starving people might cross the border. The Li clan has stored a great deal of grain over the past several years. Supporting several thousand more refugees would not be impossible, and it would increase our population. But if this drought continues, even the Mixi River may dry up. Then we will be unable to grow more food. The letters from the Ji clan mentioned a sacrificial offering. Perhaps Jia Nixi does not have much time left. The deeper Li Tongya traveled into Shanyue territory, the more cracked earth and dead trees stripped of bark appeared below him. In the distance, Dajue Court slowly came into view. It was the only true city in Shanyue lands, and its age could be seen everywhere. Wind and rain had eroded its walls into an uneven surface, while the interior was similarly decayed. Beside Daju Court stood a towering altar built from packed earth, timber, and stone. It was already 80 or 90% complete. Rumor claimed that Jia Nixi would stand upon it to announce the unification of the northern foothills to heaven. The laborers constructing the altar looked exhausted, and were drenched in sweat. Yet anticipation and reverence filled their faces. Every one of them believed Jia Nixi would end the chaos and bring them a stable life. I cannot continue. Li Tongya stopped in silence. This search had produced nothing, just like all the others. Disappointed, he turned away and headed toward Wangyu Lake. The waters of the lake had receded several hundred li. Cracked lake beds stretched where water had once flowed, littered with dead fish and rotting shrimp. The heat was unbearable. Jackals and vultures fed everywhere. Li Tongya circled Wangyu Lake once before returning to Lijing Mountain. The moment he landed, he saw the corpse of a massive black boar lying in the courtyard. Long dark hair covered its body, while two white jade tusks each as large as an adult's palm protruded from its mouth. Nearby, Li Xuanling and Li Xuanyuan were hurriedly applying spirit sealing arts to the corpse's joints and vital acupoints. Li Xuanfeng sat upon a large boulder, calmly wiping down his bow. Second uncle. Li Xuanfeng grinned from his seat on the boulder as Li Tongya descended. He held his bow in his left hand and a large sack in his right. Leaping down, he raised his head and laughed. The legs of this wild boar are rich and nourishing. It was at the peak of the embryonic breath realm. There is enough meat here to feed everyone. Li Tongya smiled. His spiritual sense swept across the corpse and found a gleaming black arrow buried deep inside the beast's skull. Other than that, its hide and flesh were completely intact. There was not another wound anywhere on its body. He asked in surprise. One arrow? One arrow! Li Xuanfeng lifted his chin proudly and slung the black bow across his back. Then he reached into the empty eye socket of the boar demon and pulled out the arrow. He casually shook the blood from its shaft. I chased this creature through the entire night. At dawn, while it was feeding, I shattered its eye with one arrow. The shaft pierced straight into its brain and killed it. Not bad. Li Tongya praised him, but still offered a warning. Do not assume that because it died to one arrow it was harmless. Had a beast like this reached you, a single upward sweep of its tusks could have torn open your belly and left you dead without a whole corpse. You must remain cautious. Hunt demonic beasts with lower cultivation whenever possible. Yes? Li Xuanfeng lowered his head, though he sounded unconvinced. That beast never even touched the edge of my robe. Li Tongya laughed and patted him on the shoulder. I know your archery is exceptional. Within the clan, perhaps only your youngest uncle's talent with the sword can compare to your talent with the bow. I simply want you to remember that your life is precious. Seeing Li Xuanfeng's serious expression, Li Tongya continued gravely. Embryonic breath and chi refining cultivators possess the strength of oxen. Smashing stone tablets, cracking boulders, scaling roofs, and leaping over walls are all simple matters. Yet compared with demonic beasts, our bodies remain fragile. I have fought and defeated many enemies in the chi refining realm. Do you know why they so often lost? Because their techniques were inferior? Li Xuanfeng asked curiously. No. Li Tongya shook his head. Because they fell. A chi refining cultivator can walk through the air. But when someone without a firm mind is overwhelmed by pain and fear, they often lose control of their hand seals and suddenly fall from the sky. Once their tendons tear and their bones break upon impact, how much strength do they have left to continue fighting? Li Xuanyuan and Li Xuanling both fell into thought. Li Xuanfeng also nodded in realization and agreed repeatedly. Then he grinned. Second uncle, it is truly good to have you in the clan. You child. Li Tongya laughed and shook his head. Li Xuanfeng picked up the sack again. Second uncle, look! He untied it and poured out 3 small wild boars. Grabbing one piglet by the neck in each hand, he asked, I found these 3 cubs inside the boar demon's den. Can we raise them? The clan still has plenty of spirit rice husks and grass. We also have scraps left from butchering demonic beasts, so we can attempt to raise one. Li Tongya nodded. However, wild boars eat an enormous amount. Even feeding one may prove difficult. That is easy to solve. Crack! Li Xuanfeng tightened both hands. The 2 piglets gave a single squeal and died. Only the third remained in the sack, struggling desperately to escape. Even a young wild boar is too strong for an ordinary mortal to control, Li Tongya said. Assign a cultivated disciple from one of the affiliated families to watch it. He turned toward Li Xuanyuan, who was forming spirit-sealing seals while helping butcher the corpse. Xuanyuan, what is the present condition of the cultivators from our branch lines and affiliated families? Li Xuanyuan hurriedly looked up. Other than Chen Dong and Li Chuyang, 3 people from outside surnames have awakened spiritual apertures over the past several years. One was originally surnamed Yi. I handled the matter properly, and he has now been entered into a collateral branch of the Li clan. The other cultivators from outside families have married into the Li clan as resident sons-in-law. Good. Li Tongya nodded approvingly. What are their cultivation levels? Disappointing. Li Xuanyuan shook his head. The branch line cultivators all practice the clear origin wheel nurturing art, the embryonic breath-breathing method left by senior Si Yuanbai. Their cultivation cannot compare with. He was about to say the Grand Jin breathing and wheel nurturing scripture. At once, the mystic pearl talisman seed within his qi obstructed him and broke off the words. The disturbance even alerted Lu Zhangxian, who had been absorbed in studying the curse. His spiritual sense swept across the courtyard and immediately understood what had happened. Li Shunyan fell silent, realizing that he had nearly revealed something forbidden. He quickly corrected himself. The difference between their cultivation speed and that of our clan's method is like night and day. Even the strongest among them has only reached the 2nd level of the embryonic breath realm and formed the Chengming wheel. Most of the time, they merely tend the spirit rice and raise the wu silk insects. Li Tongya nodded, thinking silently. We must consider whether to replace this embryonic breath method. There are not only 6 mystic pearl talisman seeds. Sooner or later, there will not be enough for every direct line descendant. When that time comes, even members of the principal line will have to cultivate ordinary methods. Li Xuanyuan and Li Xuanling had just finished processing the boar demon and ordered servants to drag the carcass away when Li Xiaowen approached with a report. Someone from the Liu clan had come bearing funeral news. Their eldest maternal uncle, Liu Linfeng, had passed away that evening. Sigh.